To me, my X-Men.
Hey there, thanks for clicking on the video. The Omega Level Nerds with you, Don. Buddy J100, how's it going, buddy?
I'm good, man. Hanging out,
Yeah.
enjoying some content, man. Just seeing some new nerdy stuff. Being a nerd,
Yeah, we had X-Men 97 come out, the third episode today. We got another Bad Batch episode today. So we're definitely going to be talking about those. And we'll be starting off with the Bad Batch. But before I go into that, fuck Dollar General. I don't know what it is. By the way, and I live in a small town. It's maybe like 10 square miles, and we've got 8 of them. But anyway, it's just anytime I go in there, I swear to God, like the aisles are filled with just boxes and U carts, which are like these big metal carts with wheels on them.
I know what you mean.
Just sitting there, like I have to fucking push them. I have to push them out of the way to get my milk. And like the employees just must be instructed to just not be helpful because they don't even go to the register anymore. They got the self checkouts now, which may or may not be going away. I heard big retail might have learned a lesson with that one, but
people stealing stuff.
I mean, nothing I've done personally, but come on, the odds have to be in that favor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know.
It wasn't you personally, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, come
funny.
on. I just got to shuffle through boxes and U cards to get stuff at. Anyway, that tangent aside, it's just something that just happened like a half hour ago. So I'm sorry, it was on my mind.
Right.
But what's even better than complaining about Dollar General though is the Bad Batch. Obviously, me and you've talked about it. A new episode came out today, and I'd say it's a pretty major one. So what are your thoughts on this last episode of the Bad Batch? I think it was called The Herald or something like that.
Harbinger.
There we go. Harbinger. The Harbinger. So what did you think?
I mean, Asajj Ventress. Well, I thought we knew Asajj was alive from what was that, season 7 of Ahsoka?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like super surprised that it was Asajj Ventress, but it's always good to see Asajj back, especially since she's, I guess the yellow lightsaber is symbolizing balanced. So using her techniques and using her knowledge for good, like I guess what she's always tried to do, but circumstances. And it was good to see that whole big speculation is Omega force sensitive, which I think she is, but it's just like I said, every episode is slowly getting towards a whole huge major part that I think is going to expand the universe even deeper.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because obviously my theory about Omega is that she is most likely Rey's mom, some way, shape, or form. And I also agree the conversation that Asajj Ventress had with, Wrecker, Hunter, and Crosshair. Was like, she's force sensitive, but that's not a good thing. But just thinking about that connection, like, oh wow, like Rey's mom looks like she potentially may be taught by Asajj Ventress. That kind of blew me away thinking about that.
Well, I don't know if it's gonna be Rey's mom. I think it'll be Rey's grandma, technically. And what I mean by that is they made a big deal about the Palpatine clone being male in the movies.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, that does make sense.
I could be wrong, but I watched them a few weeks ago, so
okay.
I think I remember it being male centric because I've been thinking the same thing too. But her mom got stabbed in front of her, didn't she?
If I
Something
do
like that.
remember correctly, yeah, something like. Well, no. I don't remember her mom getting Ray's mom. Yeah, no, I don't remember that. I just remember them like leaving her on Jakku. Um, yeah, I don't. I have to go back
Well,
and
I
watch
thought
it.
it was in the flashback of the dagger.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I think you're right now that I think about it.
That's but either way, I think that no matter what relation Omega has to Ray, there is a Ray relation. I
Yeah.
agree with you 100% on that.
And yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a surprise, and I guess it didn't surprise me because the fucking internet, it spoils everything, and not that it really spoiled this because even watching this, I did not sit down. Oh, okay, this is the episode I'm going to get to see Asajj Ventress, but I had heard discussions, rumors on the Twitter and whatnot that she was working with Fennec Shan, and she does confirm that in this episode that she did hear about the Bad Batch and Omega through Fennec Shan, and so yeah, which makes me think: are we going to see her in a Mandalorian season 4 or something,
Yeah,
or Boba
that's
Fett?
exactly what I was just thinking
Yeah.
myself.
Although I think they'll shy away from any more Boba Fett shows, which is too bad because I really enjoyed it. But you got Star Wars fan base in quotes that just likes to complain and be asshats about. But please realize,
Yeah,
ladies
to
and
say
gentlemen, the
the least.
people, yeah, the people that enjoy Star Wars are actually the minority. It's just internet people, I guess. Which I mean we are, but I like to be more positive than that. That's really to me the biggest thing about the episode, though, was we see Asajj Ventress is indeed still alive, but they didn't explain how she's still alive. And I did read today that that is something that they will explore in the future, although it wasn't divulged if it would actually be here in this Bad Batch show. Um, I hope so, though. It would be interesting, I guess, to see. Although it's not like it's going to be hard. She's a witch of Danthamir, so like,
Right.
very prevalent nowadays. By the way, I must say, between the Bad Batch and Ahsoka, very interesting that the Danthamiri witches are still playing a big part. Also, Jedi Survivor, they're in that as well. In fact, one of them's in your
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
party.
I
So
forgot what her name was, but
yeah, me too.
it's like it seems like the love interest based off of how far I got.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Agreed. So that was fun. Um, but then yeah. So switching gears to episode 3 of X-Men 97. Um, so I mean they dive into it right away as far as the cliffhanger that they had in the last episode where there was 2 Jean Greys. And we come to find out that the Jean Grey that came to the mansion was actually Jean Grey, the Jean Grey that just had the baby and has been with Cyclops and them is a clone. And they don't specifically name the clone until later in the episode. But overall thoughts, though, is I really applaud the show because they really took something that's convoluted, and that's Cable's origin. And it's still convoluted, but they did make it a little bit easier pill to swallow. I felt they were pretty faithful to the source material. There was some changes in what they did. Originally, Nathan Summers got the techno-organic virus from Apocalypse. So in the show, it's Sinister that gives it to him in an attempt to make him invulnerable. Um, so that was interesting, but I thought worked very well. Also, Madeline Pryor, which again, she doesn't give herself that name until the end of the episode. In the comics, she actually doesn't have any powers to start with. Now, after she gets after she gets screwed over by Cyclops a little bit, she kind of makes a deal with the devil to get like these demonic powers, and the whole X-Men Inferno storyline happens. So that was definitely a big change as she has powers throughout. It was a great job how you could tell the difference between her and Jean Grey's powers, with the different colors and whatnot. But I thought that was all very well done. I thought, I really have to commend them to try and tackle Cable's origin like that and to do a decent job of it. Was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching it, and by the end of it, I was like, "This is the most '90s TV episode I've ever seen
Yeah,
since the '90s." Like, the amount of information that we were given in like 32 minutes, I believe it
yeah,
um, was astounding. And I think it was so fast. Like, it's one of those episodes that you're probably gonna have to watch twice to really get the deep down on. I mean, I took some notes, but
sure.
to watch it twice to really feel it, because there was just a lot that was happening at one time. But I
Mhm.
did make uh mention in my notes that, um based off of how Madeline turns into the Goblin Queen in the comics, I I like that it. So I didn't, and the guy who wrote it didn't like it either, but I didn't like the fact that Madeline's turn to darkness or whatever
Yeah,
was due to a man doing what he logically would do. I
right.
mean, considering the situation, like, I don't know about you, but I don't know. I I wouldn't say I necessarily agree 100% with what he did, but like I get where he's coming from. So to have it not tied to being a man, to having it not tied to it being about a man,
Yeah.
um, and it being about Mr. Sinister's hold on her,
Hmm.
and then how quickly she got over it, and then Jean and everything is kind of trying to do their normality,
Yeah.
and she's out doing her thing, you know what I mean? So it was just a really fast episode, that, I mean, damn, there was just a lot in there. You know, the and it seems like, every episode, granted, I get this one was Madeline giving them hallucinations or whatever, but every episode has to have a X-Men assemble beat 'em up scene, which I'm not,
Yeah.
saying I don't like. No, I like it a lot. I just love how they just had to make up a reason to, have everybody beat some shit up.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I love it.
yeah,
And I just, as long as they keep doing this cool exploration of their powers or team abilities, I would say the big boom boom pow in this particular episode is when Bishop told Cyclops, go ahead, hit me up, and Cyclops hits him with a bunch of concussive blast, and then Bishop just like kills every demon, what have you, um, by absorbing Cyclops' optic blast and shooting it back. I thought that was really really cool. Uh, but man, uh, so Sinister. Boy, I mean, I know Sinister's creepy, but even knowing that, like, that scene where he's like talking through the baby monitor, I don't know. I thought that was creepy. Real
a
creepy.
little bit.
But that poor kid, like, so Sinister gets a hold of him and he ducks. I'm like, he's just gonna throw him in that green shit. And he's, yeah, certainly just throws him in the green shit. He's just floating in this green shit until Cyclops blasts him out. Like, geez, oh Pete.
Yeah,
And
he
then,
gives no fucks.
yeah, absolutely not. It's like, oh, I got this baby. It's splash. All right, just go in there. We'll give you the techno virus. And then because he gets the techno virus, again, the baby doesn't even get to stay with his mother or nothing.
Right.
They like, hey, we got to send him off to the future where there's somebody there that's going to be able to cure him.
We hope.
We hope. Well, here's the problem. That
He shows
person,
up in a Deadpool movie.
right? But well, I take it though that he's talking about Forge, but then
Oh
we
yeah,
see
yeah.
Forge is in this timeline talking with
Right.
Storm. Now I don't know for sure if that's Future Forge, because I think Future Forge would be all gray by now. But I don't know. That could be a potential storyline we see, which would make sense because in the comics, Cable was not cured of the techno-organic virus. In fact, that's why his powers he's an Omega level mutant, but he has to use a lot of his powers to keep this techno-organic virus at bay. Um,
Mm.
so it looks like that may be something here. We'll see. But it was cool to see Forge and Rogue, or Forge and Rogue, Forge and Storm. Um, Storm's at a bar in Texas, I think it was, and Forge sits by her. Basically says he thinks he can get her powers back, so that's cool.
Yeah,
But
we need some storm
yeah,
forecasting. Damn it. Okay.
what do
I
you
need some
feel about a
forecasting
potential
storm popping
romance?
off.
Yeah, yeah, we need more forecast. What What do you think though? Because Storm and Forge have been an item in the comics. So how would you feel about a potential, romance here in X-Men '97 between those two?
I mean, based off of seeing that they could probably do 6 months of exposition in about 15 minutes,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I think it'll be all right. And I mean, just looking at it from like a a personal standpoint, if I was Storm and somebody got my powers back and they happen to be a cute, handsome son of a gun, I
Native
might have
American
some feelings
fella.
myself. Right. You know what I mean? So I might have some feelings there myself. So
Right
I don't
on.
blame her for that. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't it wouldn't be too far off track from what I've seen or what I've heard about in the comics. Anyway, so it's another sticking to the source material twist.
My only complaint about this episode, which I love the show, so I mean it's hard to pick something, but there was one thing that kind of jumped out to me. Was Scott's whole, "Do any of you know what it feels like to be abandoned?" Like I was like, yeah, pretty much the whole room. But
Everybody in the room there, Scott.
but outside of that, it was great. Have no complaints. Um, any other thoughts on this on the episode as far as what you like, don't like, or again
um,
any questions or conjecture you want to any fan booking?
no, I mean, I wasn't really expecting this one to
Yeah.
be what it was. I thought maybe it was gonna go based off of um the last one, and it'd be like a part three, if you will, or
Hmm.
the day in the life of the new X-Men or whatnot. But this one with Jean popping in at the end and that basically it being a whole story arc in one episode, I wasn't really expecting that. And plus it's one of those things that we haven't seen since the 90s anyway. TV shows usually, you
Yeah.
know what I mean, aren't telling stories that fast. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see where the next one goes, and I'm enjoying it so far, and I'm glad that I mean, granted, I'm late, but I'm glad that I'm getting into X-Men.
Well, hey, this is a great way to get into X-Men though too, because again, it's not 100% completely faithful to the source material, and nor was the original animated series. But what it
Right.
did was it did a great job of showing you the storylines that were really good, modifying them in a way that they could be, consumed, through this means, and not going through years and years of comics. Um, they'll change the team, but otherwise it's great stuff. It's great writing. And what I really enjoyed about this show is the fact that after the first two episodes were released, I swear, at least on my X app, the haters they really shut the fuck up for about 3 days. It took about 3 days before they finally woke up and said, "Okay. I know this is great, but I gotta talk some
I
shit.
gotta do something. I gotta say, I
I
gotta
gotta
save
talk some
face.
shit."
I gotta make
Um,
my next video.
yeah. So, and the Surfs, which I know you kind of have a history with them. He had a cool tweet, so which was go woke, go. Oh my god, this is fucking brilliant, or something like that. So I thought that was quite funny. Because again, I get for 3 days, just everybody was just shut the fuck up. But they're here now. They're back. They have their complaints.
What
Um,
they do now.
they do now. And I'm honestly surprised, and maybe I will see this 3 days from now. I'm honestly surprised. You know how people complained about Rogue's butt not being as big and all that. Um,
Yeah.
Madeline Pryor's comic Goblin Queen comic suit shows like underboob. So I'm just waiting any day now.
Right,
Where's the
right, right.
underboob? Where's my
Where
Madeline
is
Pryor
it?
underboob?
Oh no, it should look fine to me.
Yeah, no, to have a functional suit's
Personally,
a-okay.
I I personally have never been a fan of scantily clad superhero costumes for anyone, guy or girl. Um, because it just has never looked practical.
Right.
And so it's one of those things where, especially growing up, or going back, I should say, and watching, looking at all of the Iron Man comics from like '62 to 2000 something, um, and how the excuse was like, oh, this was like this alloy that like just sticks to the skin, and like,
Right.
no, you just didn't want to make a practical armor. So you make it skin
Yeah.
tight, like everybody's in latex and spandex, and so that's why it's hilarious when it's like when in WandaVision, when Vision was in his quote unquote comic book accurate
Right.
costume. They just look ridiculous. I like the more practical suits, and for the first X-Men, outside of me just not really being an X-Men fan, the one thing that a lot of people have an issue with, which I didn't necessarily have an issue with because it was leather, black leather, I had an issue because I figured if they were gonna do black leather, at least have it be yellow for like Wolverine or like
Yeah.
whoever, you know what I mean, like the colors and whatnot. But the fact that it wasn't skin tight leotards. I don't know. I never really liked it, especially
Yeah.
for the women. And when they have like skin showing and stuff, like I never really got that. I'm one of those guys. Sorry if
Yeah.
that's like a poo poo on someone's parade. And don't get me wrong, it's hot, cool, great, fantasy, whatever, but it's not practical me at all. So I mean, if it's gonna be a character that's doing something, um, I don't know, physical. If they're
Right.
not physical, if they're like oh, these are my servants here, and they're like scantily clad. All right, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Don't do shit.
Right.
Uh, well, yeah.
Like the
So
fembots from Austin Powers.
right. That kind of makes sense too. They're robots,
There is somewhat of a practical reason. I will admit, back when I was, 13, 14, 15, I appreciated the fact that basically in a lot of those situations, Jay, they would just they're tracing from porn, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
why bulk it up, put some armor on them? We just skin tight it. There
I
we
get it.
go.
Like my for me, what makes sense, and anime kind of perfected this though, is like right before, like when they're changing right before they get into their suit, right?
Yeah, you get the
That's when you got the opportunity, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And then on top of that, like especially for like the TV censors, you're like, oh, but it's just a transition, to
Right. Just a transformation. Right on. Um. So yeah, the haters. They now as far as like let them cook, so I feel that's a big theme of ours, and I like it. So like as far as like letting
Me
them
too.
cook, so a lot of people. You know what? No, that's wrong. Not a lot. People that I've seen. So I got to make sure I'm not people I've seen on. They're complaining. The Gambit fans. That's what I'll say. Gambit fans are complaining that they really don't like the fact that Magneto and Rogue look like they may be hooking up. They really don't like it. Say that it's basically screwing the Gambit character. That he deserves better. But we didn't get him in a live action movie. So they really need to do right by Gambit. And this whole Magneto Rogue Gambit triangle thing is just shitting on the Gambit character. It's 3 episodes. First season, they said there's at least 2, probably a third. Listen, they're gonna end up Rogue and Gambit. Right now, Magneto can let Rogue touch him, and it's actually not that Rogue's touching him. He can just create a magnetic field around his skin to where he can at least, kind of simulate it a little bit. And in the comics, Rogue and Magneto, did have a thing. They did. But ultimately, spoiler alert, for those that don't know, Rogue and Gambit are married in the comics. In fact, I'm intimately aware of this fact, not just because I'm an X-Men fan, but you want to talk about characters getting screwed. Let's talk about Colossus. So Colossus and Kitty Pryde had a thing. It was kind of creepy because Colossus was way older than Kitty. But nonetheless, over the years, they were lovers. They broke up. Colossus fell in love with an alien. Kitty Pryde may have died, or at least thought he died. Blah, 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 blah. They had this complicated history and romance. And then I'd say at this point, about 10 years ago, maybe closer to 7 or X-Men Gold was the series. Kitty Pryde was the head of that X-Men team, and Colossus was on that team. And Colossus was like, "Hey, listen, no problem. Don't worry about our history. I'm just here to do work. We're not romantic at all. No problem. I got you. It's on lock." Well, then Kitty Pryde asked Colossus to marry her. Like she's the one that took it there, right? So they have this big wedding issue. And as Colossus is going to put on Kitty Pryde's ring, she phases through it. Okay, she leaves Colossus at the fucking altar. I was pissed forever. I was one of those fans. But it is at that time that they're like, "Oh fuck, what are we gonna do?" And Gambit and Rogue like, "Oh well, we got everybody gathered. It's a wedding. Well, let's have a wedding." And they get married. So, long story short, Rogue and Gambit, they are a thing. They're gonna be a thing. Just some stir. Throw some seasoning there.
It's almost like it's a story arc.
Right. Exactly.
Oh man.
Let them cook. You throw them seasoning in there. I know I'm white, so you probably think,
You notice how
seasoning.
Gambit lost and didn't, I don't know, murder people
Yep,
or
there you go.
Have a shooting spree or join internet forums and lose his mind. Listen to Red Pill podcast for the rest of
Right.
his life.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just doing his thing and continuing to be the same person because you can't control what anybody else does, and it's not gonna last anyway. So who cares? Boom.
Right, exactly. So yeah. Just let them cook. Let them motherfuckers cook. Because they're doing a fine job. Another thing that and this is a weird area for me because I really don't want to insult anybody, but as an X-Men fan, there is this. It's just part of the X-Men fandom. I don't quite get into, and that's the fans that say Morph has a thing for Wolverine. It's a whole big speculation because he walked into the shower, and of course we know that he's non-binary. So I don't know. Did you get any vibe of that at all? Because I'm just kind of tone deaf to that sort of thing. So I mean, you think they're really going there?
I will say that. Okay, so what that scene was the beginning of the hallucinations from
Right.
the Goblin Queen. So, because that wasn't Wolverine, so I don't know what that was trying to show. Like Morph is
Yeah.
afraid of Wolverine, that's his fear. But then when it went all down to it, I think Sinister was what took over him, whatever, all good stuff. Anyway, so um I will say that it did seem like there was a little lip bite type of gesture, type of animation, if you will.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because my big thing about this is, and this is how I've felt about it even back in the 90s when it was out with I guess when it came to, because they were doing a lot of relationship stuff with Jean and Scott and stuff. And so as a kid, the way that I looked at it was, these heroes have lives and desires and ways that they also have to wrestle with on top of being a mutant or whatnot, right? So seeing you know different characters have different sexual identities and this and like
Mm-hmm.
the I don't know, that doesn't really bother me much, but um and then when it comes to being non-binary, that doesn't mean that Morph is gay, but I think that Morph is bi,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. Because the Morph is non-binary because he can morph into either or. So
Yeah.
what are they? And so I could see Morph being attracted to a man, and I could see Morph being attracted to a woman. I could see Morph being attracted to whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. As long as they keep saving people, I don't care what nuts they bust. So
Exactly.
all power
Exactly.
to them.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Um. So Bo DeMayo, right? He's I guess now the former showrunner, main writer, did seasons 1 and 2 here. Um, I guess a little bit of media literacy matters here. So a lot of the news outlets, all like if you Google his name, he's fired, 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 fired. But CBR did come out with an article where they did talk to a studio exec that did say he would describe it more as a mutual parting of ways. What do you think? I mean,
So I did two articles. I one popped up and I was like, nope, not looking because it seems speculative. Then another popped up and I was like, ugh, the way they did this headline, I don't know. So I was like, fine. So I looked at those two articles and no one knows. So stop writing stuff. But I guess you got to get clicks, and I don't know.
well, no, that's
It's
how it is,
just
man. Because that Gambit article that I mentioned, it was like it was headlined like, they shit on Gambit. It's like, okay, or they don't care about, they do, they have real harsh headlines, and then it's like no substantive behind it.
right. When you get into them, it's nothing. So I mean, I don't know. I I think from what there was I had seen something about an OnlyFans, and so this is what got me to turn it off is because I know OnlyFans has its sexual connotation, but like OnlyFans is not just for uh, porn stars. OnlyFans was for musicians and stuff like that way before it was for porn stars. Porn stars just figured out, hey, this is a good format that I'd be able to do my stuff, and then it kind of took off from there. So he has an OnlyFans, but it's not that type of OnlyFans. Um, so I don't think that's it. Um, I saw something about how like he's hard to work with. I mean, he's a content director of sorts. Yes, he's going to be hard to deal with. Um, yeah, I don't know. So it just seems speculative to me. I really would like to know, but in the meantime, I'm just ignoring it and enjoying what uh what he's been what he's been given. Because I also think that I also hope that there isn't a quality drop off. Because that's ultimately the thing that I'm really gonna be looking for. If because I think they said they already did 2 seasons and then he was on ready to do a third. So I think the third is going to be a new person in charge. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes then. But um, yeah, I don't know. All the articles sound stupid, so I'm just trying to ignore it.
Yeah. You're right, though. That will be a pivotal, after we get our season 2 and they come back with season 3. It's definitely going to be, under the microscope to see, that the quality stays where it is, and hopefully it does because it's just a fantastic, fantastic show. Love it. Well, yeah. So we'll see a new episode of that next week. We'll see what new complaints people come up with. I'm sure that'll be some fun.
Oh, it'll be something new. It's coming.
Outside of that, just some kind of news articles that I thought was interesting. We can talk about here just a little bit. So, kind of the first one's a little bit sad, though. Obviously, Akira Toriyama passed. Still currently doing my Chrono Trigger playthrough here on the channel, so check that out. Episode 10 just dropped. So, but yeah, it looks like they are going to indefinitely suspend the Dragon Ball Super manga. Now, I don't think that means it's the end of like Dragon Ball manga because he does have a successor, somebody that is kind of doing it already. But you have to wonder. I mean, it says indefinitely. You have to wonder if that is going to be the end. I don't think it will, but you never know. I hope that is not the case. Um. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot. As far as Frank DeMeo not being fired and being mutual let go. I do want to thank Chandler Poling for making me aware of that. He's the one that actually kind of lit that torch, and waved that flag as far as like, hey, check this out. So I do appreciate that. Of course, he's a friend of the show. He's been on the show before, one part of the X Reads podcast, so check him out. Yeah, so Dragon Ball Super manga and definitely suspended. Rich Dueck, again, someone that's been on the show before, comic book writer. He's done a lot of his own stuff, done great stuff for IDW with the Ninja Turtles. He's done stuff for DC, Superman Red and Blue. He's done Old Man Peter Quill, Wastelands, which I liked, which actually had Peter Quill going back to the X Mansion and battling Farouk, which I thought was great because Rich is a great horror writer. But he did have a Edge of the Spider Verse #2 come out today, so I know he was real proud of being able to go into a comic shop and see his name as writer on a Spider-Man comic. So once again, sir, I congratulate you. I mean, I still remember when he was on this show. And he gave the advice of, for those you want to write for Marvel, you want to write for DC, there's a certain property you want to write for. He's like, you got to do your own, you got to do well on your own shit first, and then that's when stuff like that'll come. And then I swear it was weeks later, he's like, bam, Superman, blue and red. I was like, hell yeah. So just great job. Congrats, Rich, for your continued success. I know we just talked about the X-Men 97, but so the original X-Men, the animated series, this is amazing. They actually came out and said that once the X-Men 97 trailer came out, viewership for X-Men the animated series rose 522%. So I would never imagine that. I mean, I understand that it would definitely go up, but over
Yeah, I was one of them.
500%. So good. Hey, hey everyone, welcome. Welcome. And then I guess the last thing I want to talk about tonight here, there's really not much else going on in the geek world. And I mean, sure, ships are ships are crashing into Baltimore bridges, and hip hop
Yeah,
moguls are
it's
being
tragic.
raided, and all sorts of bad stuff there.
Yep,
But um,
that's tragic too.
you know, but we try and stay positive here. So let's talk about the trailer for Marvel Rivals. Um,
Yeah.
6v6 PvP action, Marvel's Overwatch, basically. Don't know how many of you out there played Overwatch. I really, really liked it. I haven't played Overwatch 2. And they were supposed to make an Overwatch that actually had a story, which I'd have been interested in, because there is like backstories for all different Overwatch characters. But nonetheless, it was a game I enjoyed, and so to see that they're going to do a Marvel version, I've seen people complain already that it's going to be like DLC, microtransaction. I don't know that that's true, but I do know they are going to release characters. Now, what price you pay for those characters, I don't know. Um, I guess I will kind of hate on it a little bit if it ends up being they have to pay actual money is the only way. Now, if you want to charge it, but then say, hey, you can grind to get it, like I'm usually fine with that. Although I do know a lot of people that will.
You mean like the characters?
Right, exactly. Like to unlock
Oh, okay.
characters, yeah, you can buy them, you can spend your money and have them day one, or you can grind this and eventually earn it. Although I do know games that have that mechanic, and the grinding is really horrible, though. Like it really helps sell on spending money, but I'm just not that type of cat. Like I will grind for what I want. Like, that was you don't understand the depths of grinding I will do to get something that I want in a video game.
I think I do.
Yeah, you're going through those Final Fantasy summons and stuff, getting
Yeah,
frustrated with
right.
that. Yeah, um, absolutely. So, what do you think? Is that something? Did you play Overwatch, or are you interested in these
So I didn't play
shooters?
Overwatch, and I tried it, and I didn't. I guess I didn't get the everybody's got their role type of thing with it. I don't know. I just
Right
thought it
on,
was like
right on,
Call of Duty or whatever.
right.
So depending on the console, depending on time, depending on uh you know stuff like that, it's something that I would consider. And I know that you are an Overwatch guy, so I mean, as long as I can find a role that I can get in and excel in, like or multiple, yeah, bro, let's go,
Yeah,
let's
I
get it.
mean, especially when they start putting the X-Men in that game. Because, yeah, as far as roles, like me, I like to be the tank. So I don't know if you remember the character Reinhardt in Overwatch.
Yeah.
He was a big guy, and he had big suit of armor, big fucking hammer, and a shield.
Mhm.
He was actually a melee character in a mostly shooter game, but I like characters like that. So hopefully when we get the X-Men, we get Colossus, and I can be the Colossus tank. But it looks like day one, they'll at least have Liliana Rasputin, Colossus' sister, aka Magic, that we saw in the X-Men '97 episode 3 a couple times actually. Had her original suit and then had her in her current shit, which is Morph is awesome in that show. But anyway, so I'll definitely be interested. I'm buying what they're selling. It looks fun as hell.
Was there a release date on that? I didn't even look. I
No,
was just looking at the video.
was not a release date yet. So, which is fine. Hey, man, I think video game companies need to stop with that shit because anytime
What
you get a
release date?
release date, yeah, give me a release
Yeah, good
date
point.
2 weeks before it comes out. It's ready to go. It's polished. It's packed. It's shipped. Okay, it comes out in 2 weeks. Because yeah, man, they just if you throw a release date out there and you have to keep pushing it back, you just get your fan base more and more pissed off. You put more and more pressure on a developer to release the thing when it's not finished, and we get crap. We don't want crap.
Yep, I agree. I mean, and talking about trailers or whatnot. So I sent you the video of Sandland because I didn't even know anything about
Oh
it,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it is so Akira Toriyama, right?
All
There's
day.
a show on Hulu, I believe. I think it's Hulu. There's a Sandland show. Same characters, everything. I'm gonna watch it tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out too. Yeah, because that
Yeah,
game looked awesome.
that looks pretty cool.
Looked like cool combat. Yeah, you guys should check that out. It's called Sandland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, check that out. You're a little demon character, but you got these like support characters, and again, and it's Akira Toriyama all day long. To remind you of Dragon Quest, Dragon Ball Z, all that. It looked super familiar. The combat looks super fun, and I did like how like you've got the central little demon character that does the combat, but again, you had a couple different support characters that did shit for you. So. Um, Obviously with that art style and the gameplay looked great, so I'm definitely going to check that out again. I feel good, Jay. Like I'm back into video games again. There was like for the past probably couple of years, maybe I play some League
Yeah,
of Legends or some shit,
here and there or
or
something.
retro game here or there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Got my good old PS5 here and my Steam account on my computer, and I don't know, I'm loving it and getting excited about video games again. Actually, I really do like. I know a lot of people my age talk shit about this age of video games, but there is a lot to like about it. And I guess I'm just going to go on a random tangent here or whatever. But I think it was rough, maybe the past 5 years with the DLCs and the microtransactions and things like that. A lot of people talk shit about it. But when you look at video gaming today, everything's very easy to access. Particularly if you have a computer, you have Steam. But it's like no matter what you have, you can usually get a hold of something. Exclusivity is a thing still, but it's just not as it was.
Right.
And yeah, you can get the latest and greatest in graphics, and shit. But at the same time, like all this cool like indie stuff comes out, these Metroidvanias, these 2D RPGs, that
Yeah.
because of their retro aesthetic, obviously spend system resources and other features and aspects of the fighting system of whatnot, and just some really good like polished shit. So um, I think there's still a lot more hype than quality. We're not all the way there yet, but it really I don't know. It's just a fun time in gaming for me because you got your console, you got your PC, you got your handheld. Um,
Yeah,
and it just shit's just really accessible and
it
cheap.
is.
I mean,
I agree.
I'm usually not a day one guy. I mean, honestly, Final Fantasy Rebirth, okay, that's a day one. It does happen. Um, but yeah, man, you just chill back for like 3 months, and
Yeah, I when I get that one, that's definitely a I'm off of work. Don't contact me until Monday.
yeah,
That's don't contact me till Monday. That's my girl better not complain for about 2.5 days. I am going to go ham when I get Rebirth. But
right,
yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. Just find the things that you like. Um I'm really I need to create the backlog, but I I found this newfound love for old school strategy JRPGs,
Right on. Yeah.
and so I'm trying to go through some of those titles, new and old, um, and just find what you like, get into them. Get them on the console you want. If you're able to have the PC and the console and the handheld, like we're blessed to have all those. Cool, great. You'll be able to find whatever it is that you're looking for, and then just enjoy your thing. The Now I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any feedback towards these companies or whatnot, because I don't really have too much of a problem with the microtransactions because I ain't buying them shits. So I'm not really worried about any of that, but I can definitely understand where people are. We've talked about this before. My issue with microtransactions is only if it's play to win. If it's paid to
Look good.
um look good, or paid to get to get a certain type of weapon skin or something like
Yeah.
that, whatever. Certain things, like, yeah, cool, great, got you. But if it's pay to win, that's how you get your level, and that's how you get this, and that's how you get that. I'm not too keen off of that, and I probably just won't even play that game. But
Yeah.
I definitely, feedback is definitely necessary to hold these companies accountable. But you know, and it's one thing that I want to get into for myself in understanding, especially since we do have like the show, is the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff, where like that a lot of the ones that we like to make fun of and talk shit about are starting up again with this, where as far as story goes, the games that haven't been good for technical reasons that I've heard of.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a game that's been out that's been bad because of the story. And so for people to be going after this company because they don't understand how it works and what they do, and blaming them for games failing, when you play those games, you look at the feedback is not what quote unquote Sweet Baby Inc. would have done or whatever. I personally don't really see what people are complaining about. Um, every few years, every few quarters, I should say, um, I've gotten things that I've wanted. So, for instance, let's go back, about a year or two, when Tiny Tina's Wonderland came out. Now, granted, that's one that's going to be tough to pop back in and get into, like the other Borderlands games. But I enjoyed that title. Ghost of Tsushima, the all the God of War games. Are you telling me that these games were bad? No, they were all right. And so yes, we may not. And I think where a lot of these complaints are coming from is that Gen Z is now getting where we got when we first started realizing that, like, oh shit, we don't got time to play games.
Right.
And I think that that's where they're just at, and realizing
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I don't got time to play games. So when I do play the game, oh, I can't beat it because this world is so big, or these missions are so fast, or this da 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 blah 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 blah. Like, no, the game's fine. Game's fine. We just got to figure out how to manage time, or instead of complaining about Sweet Baby Inc. and trying to hold them motherfuckers accountable, hold the people who created the system that allows us to not have time to do shit, hold them accountable. Maybe we'll see the change at the end of the tunnel there. Um, but yeah, I definitely get what you mean, and how people feel. For myself, I just like to stay within the realm that I know makes me happy, and part of that doesn't explore as much as I want to. That's why I'm kind of getting into some of these older strategy JRPGs or whatever. But but that's kind of the fun of it too. Is again, playing what I like, and then going back and seeing some new stuff's out there. And then what I will be doing, since my vacation is about to be up by the end of this week, is really find some time management because I've cracked open a couple of titles that I do enjoy, and this world sucks, and I like to feel accomplished doing something. So if I can make a couple of bucks, doing this new position that I got to come home and beat a couple of chapters or whatever in whatever game, I'm down for that. And there's some new ones that are coming out that look great. And for me, I'm just, hey, show me what you got. I'll pay a couple bucks. If it's good, I'll play it again. If not, and remember it if I don't play it again. But if not, I'm gonna talk my shit, tell you what I don't like about it, and move on. And I think if we did that a lot more often, I think that the games industry would have a lot better feedback. But as I go back and watch retrospectives and watch people's analysis on things, if I'm able to get past people's blatant lack of media literacy,
Right.
or if there is any of that at all, and they especially when they do understand it, I definitely do enjoy those who understand the games that they're playing. Oh God, it is such a breath of fresh air. But um, I think people just talk shit to talk shit. Really,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
that's
I don't. They're just making it up at this point. But there are things that do need critiquing. And so I'm not saying that like people shouldn't put their opinions out there. It's just after a while you kind of see a trope that I think that people are just being disingenuous about and aren't being truthfully honest. But because like for me, I'll go back and I can play, Final Fantasy 4, if you will, because that's the video I was watching today. Right now, and speaking of, none of that popped up. I don't even. I if we could ever get that guy back, I want to debate him, but there's no debate. Like there really isn't. I got through a really really big deep dive because it's this one that's like a 5 hour long one, and the reason why I was using that one as like my base was because I've listened to it twice, so I'm familiar with it. But then the way that they broke down the game is a way that I would want a game broken down. And then on top of that, when there was story inconsistencies or whatever, the things that I would remember that were parts in the story that were like, ooh, we both know that these are graphical storage technical limitations. If Hironobu Sakaguchi could have put the shit in the game, he would have put the shit in the game. And that's, as I'm going through this, I'm like about like 40% through the story or whatever, and I'm like, I won this debate because there's no real argument. They're like, yes, this part happens and this part happens and that doesn't make sense and that doesn't make sense. And where did that come from? And this, that, and the third that throws the story off. We know that this is because of the technical limitations.
right.
So what are we even debating for? But anyway, so um and that's my point, is especially back then for our generation type of gamers, we knew that the graphics weren't going to always be faithful to the story that's being told. We know that the story isn't being faithful to what was trying to be presented to us and all this kind of things like that. You have to kind of use a little bit of your imagination. And so now that you're able to see, you know, pores coming out of people's, skin,
Right.
graphics wise, it kind of takes that imagination away, and then now people have kind of like a selfish entitled attitude when it comes to the games, when you should just play the games, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
with that said, so I don't know if you're familiar, but you know about Helldivers 2, right?
I've been hearing a lot about it. It's actually intrigued me a lot. But yeah, go for it. I saw
Well,
that
I
you
was going to
get
ask you,
mechs. So I saw that you
what do
get
you what do you
mechs.
think what do you think about? I kind of want to get into it
Me
because
too.
it's one of those um multiplayer team up type of games or whatever.
Right.
But then the part that's funny is, and I probably kind of want to play it just because of this, but like people don't understand that Helldivers is literally like Starship Troopers, but a game. It's making fun of like we're the bad guys. Nobody gets it.
Right.
It's funny.
Now that you mention it, I do remember that. Yes.
So as
Yeah.
far as like so what I've seen complaints wise is that like gameplay, I mean there may be some technical gameplay things, but like uh it's just really the shitheads going against other shitheads that don't really don't understand what they're playing. But I
Yeah.
thought maybe you were familiar with all that was going down.
Gotcha.
Um
Yeah, I've
because
heard things here and there.
that's one of those new titles that like it seems like a cool title. Now that because people have misunderstood it has made me understand it, and knowing that I'm kind of like the bad guy, like all right, yeah, I'll fuck with it. I'll fuck with it.
Right. Yeah, you know, there's a whole, I mean, I don't know if I'm correct here in my thinking, but this seems like a whole genre that I really need to get into because it seems interesting. Uh, what was the name of the game? I'm gonna forget it. No Man's Sky
Oh yeah,
is one
yeah.
of them.
Yeah. Oh, you get it in No Man's Sky, bro. Me
Yeah,
and
like that
Mara will
looks
play with
really
you, bro.
interesting. Looks really, really interesting. Just yeah, those games like that. We're in a starship and you're just
Yeah,
exploring shit. And
yeah.
yeah, I
It's
need to
like
get into
space
that
Minecraft.
genre. Yeah, exactly. I need to dive
It's
into
super
that
chill.
genre.
You just find the mission that you're trying to do. Oh, I need this element. All right, I'm gonna find this element, or I'm gonna go search for these little key things, or I'm gonna build up my base, or I'm
Yeah,
gonna explore planets, or I'm gonna look for the species or something. I don't know. It's
yeah.
space Minecraft to me.
I gotta check that out. But okay, great. Well, hey, there we have it. I mean, that's all for this week. If you've made it this far, please like and subscribe. Tell us what you think of the Bad Batch so far. What did you think of the last X-Men 97 episode 3 with that basically did Cable's origin in 1/2 hour, which in my opinion was pretty impressive.
Right.
Yeah, tell me what your thoughts and we'll see you on the next one.